So what I want to show you today is how you use ThreatResponder to do investigation, okay, of systems, of Windows systems, regardless of where they are located, right? So long as there is internet connection to the machine that you're trying to investigate, you can investigate it from anywhere. So right now I'm in Dulles, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. I'm going to investigate a system that is somewhere else, maybe New York, maybe Paris, maybe Bombay, maybe Los Angeles. It doesn't matter. All I have to do is to log on to the platform, right? You authenticate, you log on, you come to the dashboard, and you click on forensics, right? Here you said you start a new investigation, and you fill in the investigation type. So right now I'm going to say today, right? I'm going to call it today, 10/01/22. I'm just going to name it that. And I'm going to specify the scan priority is basically how fast I want the investigation to complete. Just leave everything as default, right? So the time interval is what interval you want to investigate, right? So do you want to investigate a month ago, 2 months ago, a year ago, or since the system all available, or since the system was basically commissioned, right? You select all available. And the investigation will look at artifacts since the system was actually commissioned or implemented. Custom range is when you want to specify a particular time, right? So for example, I can do custom between this date and this day, right? So my investigation will be narrowly focused during this period, right? So once I'm done selecting all of this, oh, by the way, the scan priority is how fast I want the investigation to complete, right? How fast do I want the investigation to complete? You do this because let's say you are in a hurry, you want the investigation to finish quickly at the expense of high CPU utilization, high memory utilization, right? But if the system is in production and you don't want to speed up the investigation, you want it to go low so it doesn't use up a lot of resources, you can go low, right? You can select low. But whether you select low or high, the accuracy or the completion of the investigation is exactly the same thing, right? So you select one of them, right? So I'm going to select Nest, and down here, I will go Nest also. Here, I will have the list of endpoints that are currently live or connected to this platform that I can actually investigate. If no machine is online or connected to the platform, I cannot investigate. So for you to do a remote forensic investigation using ThreatResponder agent, right? The machine has to be connected and communicating to the platform in the cloud, right? Or it cannot be, so meaning that a firewall, the machine has to be up, the agent has to be installed, and it has to be able to connect. All right. So now for this particular instance, only one machine is online called Mary PC. You could have 100 machines or 1,000 machines or 10 machines. You just have to select which one you want. In this case, I'm going to select Mary, right? Mary PC. So I'll do Nest. And here I select the artifacts. The artifacts meaning the possible location in the target file systems that I am interested in, right? So if I'm investigating Windows, these are the possible locations where evidence is likely to reside, right? So you have the file system like system volume, master file table, user journal, registry, recycle bin, the Internet Explorer history, event logs, browser downloads, right? So for file artifacts, I'm going to analyze all of these artifacts. For process execution, as part of the incident response process, I want to do process execution. What process is executed? So I'll be looking at running processes. I'll be looking at prefetch location. I'll be looking at registry. I'll be looking at system resource usage monitor. I'll be looking at Windows background activity monitor. or the Windows 10 timeline for Windows 10 machine, and the event log as well as the event traces, right? So for process execution, if a process ever executed on a Windows machine, the evidence is going to be in one of these locations. Event logs, right? So I want to look at application, firewall, prints, and so on and so forth, right? Also, I want to look at, for network connection, I want to look at active connection, browser history. So when in doubt, select everything, right? When you're not sure, just select all the artifacts. The analysis is going to basically look at every possible artifact over the time period you define to be able to do the analysis on. Now, the hash calculation is the algorithm for any file, let's say process or executable or portable executable in this case. We want to select the hash algorithm that we would use to identify the file, right? That will help us quickly identify leveraging threat intelligence feeds to be able to enrich the data and be able to allow us to detect that, hey, this hash matches a known ransomware. The file type is basically what file types are we interested in investigating? Are we just interested in, if interested in portable executable, you select it, document, you select it, known ransomware, you select it. If you want to do images, you have the option to select it also, as well as video. And if there are some specific file extension that you're interested in, maybe the customer is infected with a particular ransomware, you have the option to define using regular expression, the extension of the file. So if the extension is, let's say, .abcd, you use regular expression to define it. The event log collection essentially allow you to either do recommended event logs or you can do all, right? So for now, we're going to do recommended. Recommended means the usual suspect, right? The PowerShell log, the application, the security, the system, the terminal connection, all of those logs will be looked into, right? When in doubt, you can do all, but at the expense of time of completion and at the expense of cost. So you may want to consider that. The option to do mount and scan snapshot is we will mount any available snapshots that have been taken on the system, and you have the option to do analysis on those snapshots as well. When you're done with that, you click next. Next, basically, if you have YARA rules, this is where you specify them, right? We have some custom YARA rule we've defined. You have the option to add your own YARA rule as well, right, to the collection. These are some that are already defined, and you have the option to select which one you want as part of your investigation or review, right? So for now, we are only interested in, we don't want to, we can select this YARA rule, and let's say this YARA rule, we do next, and then, we do YARA rules. We also have options to select Sigma rules or regular expressions, right? Let's say a regular expression for email or IP address or social security number or driver's license, they exist, so you can leverage them. Next, we'll do, we specify any indicators. Let's say a customer has been compromised. They have some IP addresses or some domain or some hashes. This is where we'll specify. So as we do the investigation, we're looking for those indicators that you specify so we can detect them relatively quickly. We do next, and we basically tell the system, yes, everything looks good. If not, we go back, correct it. Otherwise, we do create. Once we do create, the investigation will be queued and immediately begin. As you see, this is the investigation we started today. It's in progress right now. This is the user that started the investigation. Right now, the investigation is going to take some time. It could take 45 minutes. It could take 2 hours, right? But the investigation is currently ongoing. But some of the investigations have completed, right? So let's say your investigation has completed 2 hours later. All you do is to select. So in this case, let me select this investigation. This one has, obviously, it's not available. right now, but let me try this one. This one is available. There is a retention period, right? So after a period of time, usually 10 days or 5 days or whatever we've defined, the investigation, because of the amount of data that is collected, very costly in the cloud, we basically purge the data, right? And it's no longer available. But you have the option to redo the investigation. This one was done recently on the 23rd, so about 11 days ago. And all we need to do is to do details and basically go into the investigation. So this investigation follow the same process that I defined previously. And now you have a full-blown investigation that has been completed on 2 endpoints, right? Endpoint 8, 9, test, desktop test 8 and 9, right? Their Windows system, there were no threats identified. There were 0 threats on this machine and 9 threats on this other one, right? Scan completed, 2 endpoints, 9 threats found, 8 network connection, and so on and so forth, right? So here is the activity timeline. We show you a chart of what happened when. So the system, we detected 2 malicious IP addresses, command and script interpreter, we identify 1. Persistence, there were 2 instances. Process masquerading, 2 instances. User activity, 2 instances, right? So here is a summary, right? This tab is a summary of the investigation that we did. Notice we didn't have to fly to the customer's location, right? We did an investigation from the comfort of our own home or office. So now we can actually look at a suspicious activity detail, right? So this is suspicious scheduled task found, right? So there was a scheduled task that was deemed suspicious. And obviously, if you look at the path, it says malware riptide.exe. If you take this hash, this is persistence. This malware, it's persistent. It was the source is scheduled task. So it was scheduled to run, and this is a hash, right? If you put this into VirusTotal, you're likely going to get a lot of detection, right? In VirusTotal. So I'm going to paste this into VirusTotal, and voila, 58 AVs actually detected it to be malicious. So through using our forensic investigation, we're able to detect a scheduled task in the system that was that has this hash that was scheduled to run. So outright, you have something there that is malicious. This one is command and scripting interpreter, right? So this is basically using PowerShell to encode some commands, right? Again, this was found in event log. The previous one was in scheduled task, but this was found in event log, right? So this is encoded. If you were to decode this using some kind of decoding mechanism, right, you will notice that this is actually some malicious payload, right? Because of time, I'm not going to do that, but there are some websites on the internet where you can just paste this on and you can actually decode the base 64 encoding or base 64 encoding or so. This one is basically malicious IP address. So this IP address is deemed malicious, and somebody basically browsed to it because you found this in the browsing history. This one is malicious IP address connection. This was suspicious activity. User event was created. So a user event was created called John Doe, right? So as you see, ThreatResponder, a forensics engine, is able to analyze a system and be able to tell you the malicious activities that were identified on the endpoint or endpoints without you having to leave, your desk, right? Now, I can also look at the files that were identified in the system. Let's say I'm interested in a file called, let's say anything that has .tst, right? I have the option to find them, right? So if I know the name of file, the path, anything about the file, I can find that particular file, and I can gain contextual information into that particular file. So like this was Skype, and it was related to the test file in question was notice.tst. If I were, let's say I knew the file in advance, I can just do notice.tst, and it will give me all files that has notice.txt in it, right? So that is the power. I can look for DLLs, I can look for executables, I can look for videos or document files. So for example, if you want to know if a PDF was ever accessed on a system, you have the option to take a look at it. This is processes. These are the processes that are executed on the system. We tell you what the timestamp they executed, the name of the process, the user context, the signer of the process, the hash, the artifacts, right? So the artifacts we specified previously for processes, right? You see them here. So you can go do more, and you see this one came from event log. These were running processes. You can continue to go, this is event logs and so on and so forth. And you can, of course, run a hunt across this data set and be able to find, a file name, a path, a hash of the data that you're interested in. Event logs. Let's say you want event logs. You don't have to go through event log viewer to look for artifacts. Let's say you want to look for anything that had PowerShell. If PowerShell was executed in the event log, right? You can do a search for it, and over that time interval you investigated, right? You see the PowerShell, right? You see the PowerShell was executed, and you get the user context and things of that nature, right? So if the process executed on the system, you can actually get information about who did it, when they did it, and so on and so forth. Network connection, this is really good, right? This is basically telling you about network connectivities that were made from that endpoint and the source of the network connection. This was active network connection. This was through browsing history. Somebody browsed from India. We can you click on it and it tells you the IP address they went to, the URL they went to. This is France. You have that option. You have that information as well. And this is Singapore, right? So we give you all of that information. User activities, these are the users that logged onto the system that we investigated and what they did, right? So password was changed, user was added, user log on, and so on and so forth. So you have the option, to essentially browse or navigate all of the different events. This one is a timeline, right? So we essentially, over that time period you investigated, this is a timeline of activities, right? User journal activities, scheduled tasks, browsing history, and so on and so forth. Again, you can look at this, you can export any one of these. No, this one you cannot export, but a lot of the information that I presented previously, like network connection, you can generate a report. Event log, you can generate a report in CSV or PDF, you can generate a report. Timeline, custom rule. Let's say you define custom rules to find specific malware or ransomware, or you have Sigma rule, or you have regular expression to find IP addresses or driver's license or social security numbers, right? They will all be populated in this area. And you have option to generate the report. Other artifacts you may have been interested in, auto run locations, right? They are here for you. Install application, you have that. Browsing search history, what they search for, DNS cache, app cache, device history, devices that were USB devices that were plugged into the system, Wi-Fi history, if it applies, you get all the Wi-Fi's that the user are connected. You also can look into the chronology of events. Chronology of events basically said, of those things that we suspected to be malicious, tell me what is the order, right? Again, you can generate the report. You can add an event. Let's say you want to add an event between any 2 points, any two time period, you have the option to add it. And so you see all of the activities. Network connection was made here. John Doe was created here. So we can kind of tell you exactly what happened at what point, right? Using the chronology of event. You also have the option to look at. So this is the report view, and you also have the option to look at the timeline view, right? We give you that same report, but in a timeline, right? Tell you exactly what happens. So if you were doing it for incident response or forensic investigations, this is it. You just generate it and say your boss, this is what happened, right? A system was exploited, or a malware was exploited on a host, and a user was added, data was exfiltrated, network connection was made, and data was exfiltrated, and so on and so forth. So this is how you essentially use ThreatResponder to do forensic investigation. There is a user guide that basically dive into each one of those. I barely scratched the surface, but there is definitely a lot more information than I presented, right? But this is just a summary of how you create a case, right? And also use ThreatResponder to forensically investigate any endpoint or endpoints, regardless of their location. This is just 2 endpoints that we investigated. This may well be 2,000 endpoints scattered all around the world, right? ThreatResponder is able to detect with high degree of accuracy the threats or the evidence that you're looking for without leaving your house. Now, so get a copy of ThreatResponder so you can investigate like pros in a forensically sound manner. So this is how you use ThreatResponder to conduct legally defensible forensic investigations.